I'm back again because I wanted to share a book in particular. I'm gonna share a lot of books, but this is one that I wanted to share right now. This is called Gullah Cultural Legacies by Emory S. Campbell. We actually, me and my husband, we went on a Gullah tour back in August after our wedding. It was on Hilton Head Island, which is about maybe 45 minutes to an hour from Savannah, Georgia, where I'm from originally. And it's the coastal plains, like Georgia coast near Savannah, the Sea Islands, beautiful. If you have never been, I encourage you to go. Please go. It's like beautiful. One of the things I love about Savannah and that area is the trees. The trees are oak trees and they have moss on it, and it's just so beautiful. I love the weather. I love being hot versus being cold. I embrace the heat. I love it. I love the humidity. I love my hair drawing up to a teeny weeny fro. I love it. And I miss it so much, and I'm ready to go back. But I know that I'm supposed to be up in the Northeast area for a reason, to get knowledge. And I think that learning learning the knowledge in the Northeast is helping me understand what I feel like I had all along. But sometimes it takes you being out of your element, out of where you're used to really understand. But this was the best tour ever. Like, we loved that tour because the guy, his name was um I'm calling Mr. Campbell. Um, but he is from Hilton Head Island. He grew up on the islands, and to me, that is great when you actually have somebody that's from that area telling you about their journey and their family and their life. And it was wonderful. And one of the things that stood out to me is the fact that at one point in time, Hilton Head Island had nothing but black people on it because it's separated. It was separated from the mainland, and now what connects is a bridge. And one of the things that stood out was he said that an elder back in the day said to not put up that bridge because they were saying, yes, let's have the bridge because it's that's progression. But they were saying that all progress is not progress, because once they built that bridge, then a lot of Caucasians came over, and now Hilton Head is known as a resort. It's all kind of resorts, beautiful resorts. But however, this was once owned by nothing but black people, and now they sold their land, and that's one of the things you don't do, especially now. You don't sell your land, you keep it. But they sell their land, they sold their land, and now it's been being built up, and it's nothing but resorts everywhere, and a lot of the culture is gone. And when you take the time to really learn about it, it's kind of scary and sad. And that encouraged me to want to learn more about it and to take on those traditions and to remember them and to practice them in my home. And that's when I think about my grandparents and how a lot of their ways was very Gullah, very Geechee. And the Gullah way is has roots all the way back from West Africa. And the Gullah people are the descendants of the enslaved um, West Africans that came over to America. You know, so these are the descendants, and this is one of the only areas that you will find in America where the African culture is still kind of you know saved a little bit. And it's kind of amazing because a lot of people don't know that, and it's something that I want to keep alive, definitely. But growing up, I didn't really think about that. I thought it was just a country way of living. But then, if you really take the time to pay attention, a lot of the southern culture, especially the cuisine, is influenced by the blacks, the black or the African Americans in the South, which in essence really is, West African. And I was kind of interesting because me and my husband was watching a food show, and the guy was in the Southeast, in like the Savannah area and things of that nature, and he was talking about how Southern cuisine is heavily influenced by, pretty much saying what I just mentioned, like was heavily influenced by the West African culture, because you think about the slaves that came over to the Americas, and and they brought like the okra and things of that nature. So it was just kind of interesting when you think about that. Just real interesting. So I'm thinking it's just a Southern country way of living, and it's way deeper than that. And I think about growing up and from the mainland, Savannah, and then coming to where my grandparents lived was Beaufort, South Carolina, which is St. Helena Island. And it's an island, and they have my grandfather. He's not my biological grandfather, but he is my grandfather. He passed away in 2014, but he was my grandfather. You feel me? I learned a lot from him. And just I just appreciate those memories that I have. He grew up on the land. I believe that the land that he had was like family land, and he raised his children on that land, and he stayed on that land long. When he retired, he was and him and my grandmother, I know that's all I remember is him and my grandmother having that garden. He had a nice field, a nice garden, and they grew a lot of watermelon, okra. What else did they grow? Greens. What else? I can't even think. At one point in time, they grew some corn. They grew different beans. They grew cucumbers. They had a pear tree. They had the blackberries that we used to pick, and then my grandmother would make a blackberry cobbler. There's so much. Cantaloupe. Did they do tomatoes? I don't know if they did tomatoes, but they did so much stuff. I remember growing up and in this Christmas, and I don't celebrate Christmas now, but growing up we celebrate Christmas, and I remember we went with my grandfather and we cut a tree. We call him Mr. Roy, but we cut a Christmas tree. I remember going crabbing with them, fishing. You know what I'm saying? The thing about that I loved is the fact that growing up, they still went to the store and did some grocery shopping, but they grew a lot of things and ate a lot of things from their garden. And I think that is something that is kind of that's kind of gotten forgot. That has been forgotten, is that there are a lot of people who are just so used to going to the grocery store. This is the first summer that me and my husband actually have had a garden, and I'm telling you, it's a difference, man. You probably know. I'm sure you all have grown your own stuff. It's like a difference, and it's just the memories that we have, like just the dirt, not having the roads not being paved, being a dirt road. Your neighbors being spaced out. Still, you know who your neighbors are your neighbors being your family members. That's the thing. My grandfather was walking distance from his son and his daughter. And, to me, that's the way it's supposed to be. So when we went on this tour, it kind of brought back memories, because one of the on the tour, the Mr. Campbell, he showed us one of his cousin's yard, and it reminded me of my grandparents' yard. They had the clothing line, for a while. Even back in the 90s, they still had a clothing line hanging up. By then it was washer and dryers. They still had them hanging up. I don't think they got an actual washing machine until maybe like the early 2000s. Just like they had it for a long time. So we used to wash our clothes, and then we used to go out and put our clothes on the line. So I appreciate that type of stuff. That's just simple living. I remember the they used to take the scraps of the food that we used to eat, and they used to feed it to the raccoons. They used to do things like that. Like, you could go, like, I remember taking out scraps of food and putting it out in the backyard for the coons to eat. And some of the things that I eat that I would not eat now, oh goodness, no. But it was just funny, just the things that you kind of forget, and I appreciate that, and I want to definitely incorporate that stuff into my life now and not forget it. That's the biggest thing. Is that one of the things with the lady that married us, she said, she was saying to my guests, when she was doing things that they may have not seen before, or think that maybe kooky or weird. He was like, this is she kept saying, this isn't new, this is just something that we've forgotten. She kept saying that, and it's just so true. But this book is awesome. It pretty much talks about the history of Gullah and growing up as a Geechee, and I'm at the part with the definitions, like the different sayings that they use back then. And that's another thing that was interesting. When I was little, the first time I met my grandfather, he was dating my grandmother at the time. I was only 7 when I first met him, I believe, and they were dating before they got married. And I remember spending time at his house and stuff like that, and spending time with his family. And I was like, why do they talk like that? I was like, they talk like they're African. They talk like they're African. I was only 7, you know. I'm like, why do they talk like that? But, you know, there's a dialect that the Geechee and the Gullah have, or whatever. And it sounds very like they're from the islands somewhere. And they're right there from South Carolina or Georgia or Florida, you know. But that just shows you how amazing it is when you keep culture, able to, you know, cushion your culture and, you know, keep it, you know, intact. But like I said, once that bridge was built from the mainland to the, I think the bridge was built like in the 50s. In the 50s, they built the bridge. And they thought it was progress, but it kind of backfired in a way, you know, because a lot of the culture is gone. And but like I said, I really want to keep it alive, and I think part of the reason is sharing what I've learned, and share and encourage people who go to Savannah or the Savannah area to go to that tour in Hilton Head, which is about 45 minutes away. But there was something else that I wanted to say in regards to this. There's so much I can talk about. I think I'm gonna talk about in regards to the bridge. Before the bridge, one of the things Mr. Campbell had talked about, he talked about how before the bridge, he talked about how it was nothing but black people on Hilton Head. And he said even though, like, when they were still enslaved, even the overseers were black, because a lot of the Caucasians couldn't withstand the heat and there was I guess there was a certain bug, and I guess when I get more into the book and do more research, I can be more clear about what I'm saying. But I think there was a certain bug or insect that caused the Caucasians to get sick, and so a lot of times they stayed off of the island. And the enslaved ancestors, our ancestors, they were able to withstand that, which I thought was very interesting. So that's why, you know, at first the Hilton Head Island had just nothing but black people living on there, and they were able to, you know, cultivate and keep their culture alive because of that, you know. And it was kind of interesting because they had to, in order to get to the mainland, they had to ride on boat. They had to row boats, and eventually, as I guess time progressed, they had ferry boats and things of that nature. And then eventually, of course, they have a bridge now that you have to pay a toll. It's only like $1.25, but you know, compared to up north, you can be paying a lot for that. Or maybe Orlando, you're paying a lot more for that. Um, but I thought it was kind of interesting that when they created that kind of mainland bridge, they started to kind of bring on the European influence. Like they had the schools, they started having them go to, you know, schools that were taught by, you know, Caucasians, and try to get them to be more westernized and things of that nature, which was kind of interesting to me. And um, one of the things that they talked about how it was a separation between the mainland blacks and the like when they would go to the city Savannah and them, because they would get made fun of, you know, because they were different, you know, because they were geeky, you know, they talk funny or whatever like that, which I thought was kind of interesting too, how there was kind of a separation. But it seemed like they had their own community, and it just was amazing. And I want to read more of the books. I feel like I'm right in the beginning, and I'm just kind of going off the brain. But that's just something that I wanted to share. And I hope you all have a wonderful day. Thank you.